So what's up, people, and welcome to the Chapter 69 discussion of Kaiju number 8, or Kaiju 8号. So Chapter 69 came out a few days ago, and as always I will leave a link to this chapter that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience. So if you're interested, go take a look at it before they pull this chapter back. Now Chapter 69, I really enjoyed Chapter 69. It had quite a number of symbolic moments in it, and many of them were very wholesome in nature. Now, the story itself continues to follow the main plot of the JDF continuing to power up to prepare themselves for the expected onslaught that will come from Kaiju number 9 and his created new powerful monsters. And the chapter begins with a news program talking about the growing sightings of many monsters all across Japan, and a mother looking at the news program and becoming concerned about the number of sightings. But this is then countered by a comment by a very young girl that says that she is not afraid because she knows that monster number 8 will protect them. And the reason why I find this scene so enjoyable is because we get to meet that young girl again that we saw in Chapter 2. If you recall, there was a young girl that Kafka saved, and it resulted in an extremely comical moment where although Kafka is saving the young girl is equally as afraid of Kafka as she is of the monster that's trying to eat her. And that comical moment that had a really wholesome feeling, a very hilarious moment, and a very action-packed moment all at once, really made me like this manga very much from the first 2 chapters. So it was really nice to see this young girl come back again. And as much as it was wholesome, and it was really nice to see this character, the one other thing you got from this particular scene is the fact that Kafka has made a difference. Throughout these many chapters, you have seen him argue with himself with regards to the question of whether he really has helped anyone, because there has been so much anguish that has occurred around him. But this one scene does bring back the reminder that if Kafka wasn't there, this girl would have died, along with her mother. And so, although it's an extremely short introduction into this particular chapter, it plays a very key role in the portrayal of Kafka's accomplishments. And this goes well because this continues on with regards to the many characters that revolve around Kafka, as well as Kafka himself in the remaining parts of this chapter. Now, the other symbolic part, which I found very interesting, is that if you recall in Chapter 68, we found out that Kikoru Shinomiya was about to obtain the powers of Monster Number 4. Now, if you recall, the powers of Monster Number 4 were the powers that Hikari Shinomiya, Kikoru's mother, had when she was a soldier of the JDF. And it was these powers that she used to defeat Monster Number 6, but in so doing cost her life to do so. And so it was a very symbolic event in Chapter 68 that Kikoru was taking on the weapons that her mother previously held. What we find out in Chapter 69 is that she has successfully adapted to those powers. And what's interesting is we find out, albeit the fact that we don't see her at all. What we see is this image of this huge battle that's going on behind the doors between Narumi and Kikoru, and the discussions that are going on by the other JDF members outside of this room. It seems that this battle has been going on for quite a while, and if you recall, Narumi is one of the most powerful soldiers in the current JDF. And considering Kikoru is still a rookie, the fact that she was able to successfully take on Narumi in this battle clearly shows just how successful she was in being able to adapt Monster Number 4's powers. So kudos to Kikoru, And we're looking forward to those powers being unleashed when the monster horde attacks. And of course, since this is a power-up arc, you do have to revolve around Kafka again, and we do see him training with Vice Commander Hoshina. And what's interesting is we see a very dynamic Kafka practicing with Hoshina, but what you also find is that as much as Kafka has powered up due to these trainings, he is still nowhere near the powers that Vice Commander Hoshina has. Now that makes sense considering that Vice Commander Hoshina is once again one of the most powerful soldiers in the JDF. And if you take it by standard hand-to-hand combat without any suits, without any weapons, he is probably the strongest warrior within the JDF. So it wouldn't make any sense if Kafka was easily able to catch up to him, and this difference in power is shown in this chapter. And what's interesting, of course, is that as much as he's improving, because he still sees this difference between himself and Vice Commander Hoshina, there is this question once more, will he be effective in the battlefield? And that question perfectly leads us to the next part of the chapter, where for the first time throughout this entire series, we finally see Kafka have a one-to-one moment with Mina. I don't know about any of you, but I've been looking forward to this interaction since the beginning of this series, so it was really nice to see it here. And of course, since Mina is a commanding officer, Kafka brings out his formalities when talking with her, but Mina is the first to stop him and say that considering the fact that they are alone up in the rooftop, he should let go of his formalities and go back to the way they used to talk in the past. And that of course segues right into the backstories that we see, and we find out that during the past, Kafka, Mina, and a few other kids have created their own mock anti-kaiju group. And of course, Kafka was the leader of the group, and because of that, whenever there was a monster attack, he would immediately run towards Mina's area to make sure that she was okay. And it was a really nice reminiscing between these two characters, because then we come back to the present, and Mina caringly tells Kafka that he hasn't changed in that respect. His feelings of wanting to save others has not waned since that time, and in fact has potentially become even stronger. And that is something that is extremely nice to see, because we do see how much Mina cares for Kafka and how much she respected him from the past. But at the same time, Mina does tell Kafka that she isn't the same Mina that she was in the past. She has become stronger, and because of that, she can take care of herself. Now, this is interesting because if you look at this panel by itself, it almost implies that she doesn't need Kafka's protection anymore, which she doesn't, because she is once again also one of the strongest members of the JDF. But what she is saying is not that she doesn't need him anymore, but that he can now rely on her to work with him so that they can battle the monsters together as they always had dreamed. And this was a really nice situation to see, because in many ways, Kafka has finally reached his dream of being able to take on these monsters with the person he cared for the most. And so this was a really wholesome chapter and a really nice scene to read, at least from my perspective. And so with that feeling, they part ways. And what's interesting is once they part ways, once again, Kafka really starts questioning himself with regards to his ability to be able to protect not only Mina, but everybody else. And Mina also understands the difficulty that will probably come up in defending the city against a new monster horde. But they both come to a conclusion that regardless of their limitations and regardless of just how powerful the enemy may be, it is their responsibility to protect the city as much as they can. But with that said, there is the Kaiju horde, and the chapter ends appropriately with the appearance of one of these kaijus and their ability to wreak havoc. And so this was a really nice chapter in portraying all of these different aspects and symbolisms, while informing us that their preparation will eventually be tested by this oncoming horde. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future chapters. And once chapter 70 comes out, I will bring out another video. I hope you join me at that time. But that is the chapter 69 discussion of Kaiju Hachiko or Kaiju number 8. If you read it, what'd you think about it? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? And did you enjoy it for the same reasons? If you can leave a comment in the comment section below, I would greatly appreciate it. But in any case, thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, happy manga reading. And as always, Jaya, nice day, everyone.